This is a story about a man who was certain the rules didn't apply to him. He was warned by his own engineers, by the wider industry, by the people who built it with him. He called their concern an obstacle to progress. On the morning of June 18, 2023, 5 people climbed inside the vessel he designed and were sealed in from the outside. No way to open it from within. Less than 2 hours later, nearly 2.5 miles down, the ocean would prove him wrong in a fraction of a second. Every warning that could have stopped this had already been sent. This is what happens when one man decides that safety is simply a waste. Stockton Rush wasn't a con man. That's what makes this harder to watch. He was a believer, a pilot, an engineer, a man convinced he was opening the deep ocean to the world. If you'd sat in one of his presentations, you might have believed him too. To get there, he built something no one had dared to. A deep-sea hull made of carbon fiber, lighter, cheaper, roomier inside. And, according to the people who actually understood the material, fundamentally unsafe at the depths he was chasing. Because carbon fiber doesn't fail the way metal does. It doesn't bend. It doesn't warn you. It holds, and then, without a sound, it doesn't. Rush knew the rules existed to catch exactly this kind of risk. He decided the rules were the enemy of progress. So Titan was never independently certified. Not once. And the people watching him do it did not stay quiet. They warned him, in writing to his face, over and over. One of them told him plainly that the hull would fail. He was fired soon after. The man who said the hull would fail was named David Lochridge. He wasn't an outsider. Rush hired him to keep the crew and passengers safe and called him the best in the business. In January 2018, Rush asked him to inspect the Titan. What Lochridge found, he put in writing. The carbon fiber hull already showed visible flaws, and carbon fiber, under the crushing cycle of dive after dive, doesn't heal. The cracks only spread. So he asked for the obvious. Scan the hull. Test it before you seal people inside. He was told it wouldn't be done. No equipment for it, they said. Instead, the plan was to listen. A sensor meant to catch the hull breaking apart. By Lochridge's own account, that system would warn the crew only milliseconds before the implosion. Then there was the window. The one viewport these passengers would look through was certified to 1,300 meters. The Titanic lies nearly 3 times deeper than that. The manufacturer refused to rate it for the dive. OceanGate refused to pay for one that could survive it. Lochridge put every bit of this in his report. Within days, in a meeting with the CEO, he was fired on the spot, given about 10 minutes to clear his desk and walk out. But firing one man doesn't make him wrong, and Lochridge was about to be backed by people Stockton Rush couldn't fire. In 2018, the people Rush couldn't fire put their names on paper. Dozens of the world's leading submersible experts, engineers, explorers, men who'd spent their lives in the deep, signed a single letter to Stockton Rush. Their concern, they wrote, was unanimous. They warned that his experimental approach could lead to outcomes ranging, in their words, from minor to catastrophic. They told him plainly, Titan was not certified. It had passed no independent inspection, and the safety standard he advertised to his customers, he had no intention of meeting. One man offered a seat, asked Rush directly if it was safe. Rush told him it was safer than scuba diving, safer than a helicopter. Another expert, who walked away, put it simply. Rush had every contact in the industry telling him not to do this, and he did it anyway. As for the 4 people who would buy the last seats, they were never shown the letter. They were never told about Lochridge. They were told they were in the safest hands in the world. 5 years of warnings, every single one ignored. And on the morning of June 18, 2023, the hatch was bolted shut from the outside. There were 4 of them, besides Rush. Hamish Harding, a British adventurer who'd been to space and to the deepest point in the ocean. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, the most experienced Titanic diver alive, more than 30 visits to the wreck, the man they called Mr. Titanic, and Shahzada Dawood, who'd loved the Titanic his whole life, who brought his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. Suleiman almost didn't go. He was nervous. He went to spend Father's Day with his dad. He packed a Rubik's Cube, he could solve it in 12 seconds, and he wanted to set a record solving it at the bottom of the ocean. At 8 in the morning, the 5 of them were sealed inside and lowered into the Atlantic. Rush steered with a modified video game controller. They stayed in touch with the ship above through short text messages, sinking deeper into the black. An hour and a half down, around 2.5 miles beneath the surface, Titan dropped its weights, the signal that it was trying to come back up. And then the messages stopped. What happened next took less time than it takes to read this sentence. At that depth, the ocean presses on every surface with more than 5,000 pounds of force on every square inch. The carbon fiber hull, the one Lochridge said would fail, the one the experts begged him to test, finally gave way. It collapsed inward in a fraction of a second, faster than thought, faster than fear. All 5 were gone before they could have known it was happening. For 4 days, the world held its breath. No one above the surface knew they were already gone. Titan carried 96 hours of air, so the search became a countdown, every news channel on Earth tracking the hours of oxygen left. Sonar picked up banging sounds in the dark, and the world dared to hope. They turned out to be nothing, just the ocean. On the 4th day, a robot found them, a field of debris on the seabed, about 500 meters from the bow of the Titanic. The wreck he'd crossed the world to reach. He came to rest beside it. 2 years later, the investigations finished. The United States Coast Guard ruled the deaths preventable, caused by OceanGate's inadequate design, its refusal to certify, its broken safety culture, and a man who treated every warning as an obstacle. Engineers confirmed what Lochridge said in 2018. The hull had been failing, dive by dive, exactly as he predicted. None of it was a mystery. None of it was bad luck. Every warning that could have stopped this had already been sent, in writing to his face, for 5 years. And if you'd been in that room, listening to a confident man promise you it was safer than a helicopter, you might have believed him too. They were warned. They dived anyway. This was Foreseen.